Thank you for joining us this week in our webinar. Today, I'm honored to have with me Randy Hendrickson, who is the owner of Expitaly, a very exciting space that consults with companies that have land and want to build an exciting hospitality property that allows its guests to have this incredible experience. And Randy, I'd like to welcome you for being with us today. Really appreciate it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about the company?
Absolutely, and thank you, Bob. The pleasure's all mine. Firstly, CEO and co-founder Michelle Oliver could not be on this broadcast today. She got hit by a very nasty bug, so she's convalescing in her home in Colorado, but she very much wanted to be here. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Bob. Experiential is a company that came about because Michelle and I, excuse me, kind of just started talking about what her background was, what my background was. The more we talked, we kind of realized that there was a strong need we felt within experiential hospitality to kind of do the same kind of collaboration that she and I do together and bring in others into the fold as well, other people. From the idea stage, I wanted to build a glamping resort. What's the land selection process, the permitting, the entitlement, the construction, all of that. So we put ourselves together and assembled a great team of advisors and alliance partners throughout the industry. And we do pretty much everything 360 degrees from the idea stage to opening day.
Well, Randy, where our factory is in Page, it's kind of well known for some incredible properties, famous in the world. Amangiri's there, that started with some kind of TP concepts and now has evolved into a very modern, beautiful experience that costs thousands of dollars a night. Just up the road, there's a lot of canvas type of properties that are getting tons of attention right now. And when I drove by yesterday, I think I must have seen 50 or more tents up in that area. So what's happening here in this market? Yurts, tents, glamping? Tell me what's happening.
Yeah. Excuse me. It's a whole bunch of everything. So experiential hospitality, also called dispersed hotel or something along those lines. The RV resort of yesterday, I'm so sorry, is no longer. Bob, I'm so sorry. Been talking way too much. So experiential hospitality has kind of evolved to more upscale and more unique properties, more unique settings, more unique experiences once you get there. And among that is unique accommodation. So whereas in the past, it may have been, just this kind of good looking RV resort with this kind of site or whatnot, these new accommodations have come in literally the past 4 or 5 years in particular, and it continues to be a huge upwelling right now. There, as you said, glamping tents, there's yurts, there's all kinds of park model type units, cottage accommodations. And we love that because the key to being successful in experiential hospitality is uniqueness and not sameness. If everything kind of looks the same, it's the same type of offering from here to there, you kind of risk commoditization. It's just, what does this place charge versus this place charge? But when you have unique accommodations and a unique experience, you can't shop an experience. You can shop a rate all day long, but you can't shop an experience. So to your point, all these different units coming into the space right now has really upped the ante on the level of service required, the level of quality required at the resort, in particular level of training, what's required to attract these guests and retain them and keep their interest. So it's incredibly exciting. I've been in the business for almost 30 years. I've never been more excited where we're going now. It's all a function of where we can be and not where we have been. That's what makes it exciting.
And Randy, what changed? Was it COVID? Was it people going back and being during the pandemic kind of sequestered and people became hyper-focused about their surroundings, where they want to be away from other people? What started it?
I think we are frozen here.
Did you hear my question, Randy?
Uh-oh. I have
Randy,
got a
my
frozen
question was whether or
screen.
not,
Bob or Ken, if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I'm not, your
Oops.
mouth is not moving, but I think we can hear you just great. Can you hear us okay,
Completely
Randy?
lost this presentation.
Randy, could you maybe take the camera off and let's just talk audio? Maybe that would work.
My goodness. Bob or
I can
Ken,
see
if you're
you.
able to hear me, Bob's screen is completely frozen.
Okay. I can, I can see my screen moving. I can hear your voice, Randy. Can you, maybe you take your camera off, Randy, first, and we'll just talk? So we'll let Randy rejoin us here. Sorry for the confusion here. I was asking him if the reason this is all going crazy is the COVID situation, and people really were looking for an interesting new experience and being away from other people. So it kind of led to unique, isolated places in unique settings, unique accommodations. That this dispersed hospitality industry kind of took off. We'll see if Randy can join us here in a minute. And I'll kind of go through a couple questions here I'd like you to be thinking about until we get Randy back. We're going to ask some questions about in a market where many hospitality properties may seem similar, what sets their projects apart in terms of quality and experiential value. We'll also be asking him, yeah, there he is.
I am so sorry. The screen froze and you went away and I went away. Hi, Bob.
How you doing, Randy?
I'm back.
We'll just jump back in. Our guests have been patient and stayed with us. So in a market where many hospitality properties may seem similar, what sets your projects apart in terms of quality and experiential value, Randy?
You know, really, it goes to unique within any market. I don't know how much of what I've said previously was retained, but in essence, you want to be unique and memorable, right? So a huge part of that is the type of accommodations you select. It's the entire experience that you wrap around that entire property. So it's community engagement. It's selling what we call selling the zip code. It's bringing in awareness of local businesses, making the guests aware of things to do in the local community, cooperating with them, having experiences that they really can't somewhere else. So uniqueness is always the way that wins. And it goes back to the commoditization thing. If you're just a place to stay, then somebody's going to shop rate and that's going to be the determiner. But with this, we're talking about full-blown experiential type of venue, and that's where the accommodations play in so heavily into the overall mix.
Great. And what kind of team members or expertise do you think these landowners should have on their team or their investors to create a successful project? Randy, can you hear me? Randy, can you hear me? Hello, Randy.
Lost it again.
Randy, can you hear me? Randy, can you hear me?
Bob, I'm so sorry. I've got a frozen able to hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hey, Randy, if you can hear me,
Yes.
I'm getting a notification that I think you might have Riverside open in multiple tabs on your computer. If you could just close out all of the extra tabs except the one that we're in, that might help.
I did check that. I'm not seeing that, but let me try that again. I'm so sorry.
Trying to figure out what we're battling against here, if it's issues with the tabs or if this is just an internet connection issue.
It's really interesting. We were good on the pre-show and been operating perfectly good all day. So let me just try a couple of things here. Once again, so sorry for the delay.
And then Randy, one last thing you can try is just turning your video off. That also might help.
We'll try that as well. Let me try one last thing here. See if we can get through this. Let's try it now.
I can hear you fine, Randy. Randy, can you hear us?
Nope.
Randy, can you hear us? It looks like our guest can hear us. Can you hear us,
Honestly,
Randy?
I cannot decipher what the story is here. I am so terribly sorry. All browsers closed, camera off.
And then Randy, are you getting any audio from us?
I am.
Okay, well, yeah, let's go ahead. If you can hear us okay, then we can at least still proceed, even if it's just by audio.
Okay, let's try it.
That works for me, Randy. So Randy, why don't you share a little bit with us about the Bay Point Landing project in Coos Bay? And it's received a lot of recognition. Can you tell us
I
more
am
about
so
that
sorry.
project
Once
and the
again,
unique
I
elements?
am seeing a frozen screen with Bob.
Can you hear me though, Randy? Can you hear me, Randy? Randy, can you hear me?
Not hearing any audio, unfortunately.
Randy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You want me to go back off the AirPods here, David?
No, it's not. It's not. That's not the issue. I can hear you just fine. Randy, do you have any other internet connection you can try?
Let me try one thing on that regard.
In the meantime, while he's doing that, we're asking him about his Bay Point Landing project in Coos Bay that's received a lot of recognition for its success. And we're going to ask him more about that project and what made it so unique, that made it so successful.
Bob, again now.
Can you hear us,
me?
Randy? Yes, I can hear
I
you.
can. Let's try.
So we wanted you to talk to us about the Bay Point Landing project in Coos Bay and why it's been so successful.
So that was a very interesting project. My former company, Horizon, was engaged very early on, literally when the property was still sand dune. So we're very blessed with the fact that the developers had a very clear idea about what they wanted that property to look like. Their vision was right down to the type of costumes they wanted to use. So expertise and oversight. Once the thing is built, how because the facilities is part of the equation, the whole experience is something else on top of all of that. To do the company Horizon Hospitality still manage. The interesting thing about, again, from the whole vision of what is now what's going to look like, and the plan executed so well that we grew past projections that we had in mind for the thing by a really wide margin. So it really goes to the vision, the planning, and the execution, and we were very pleased to be a part of that project.
Great. And what new trends do you see emerging? We've gone from RVs now to tents and yurts, and what other trends do you see?
Yeah, so the biggest trend is, as the industry has kind of grown and evolved, the accommodations and the hospitality practices have gotten more advent of hotel capital, hotel standards, hotel operations have kind of come into the industry. And so with that, the whole playing field kind of gotten elevated quite a bit. So you've got a lot of good institutional capital coming into this space now, but with them, the hotel best practices. That in turn, the entire product off guests provides a very different experience. Because when you're thinking in terms of what it takes to actually create something for that guest, one of my favorite, Richard Furtick at Stop Capital, he's fond of saying, from consistency to excitement. Michelle and I could not possibly agree more. So consistency of a good product that looks and it's clean and whatnot, that's no longer enough. It's got to have something to the excitement level, the experience level. But when you go there, it's got to be something that says, I want to come back here than I did at another place. And ultimately, that's how you ultimately win in the space. So those are the biggest trends are exactly accommodations and really robust hotel type experiential hospitality training to the nth degree, which is something Michelle Oliver completely excels at. That whole experience, the staff training to get them really engaged in that property and engaged in overall success. And one more thing about that, I think, because it is a trend, Bob, that's happening in the industry, there's a lot of focus, and rightly so, on staff retention and staff training. It is Michelle's and my firm belief that is what attracts to come work with you. Commonly, developers or operators will hire staff placement wage. That creates turn. There's no longevity. There's they perform and do well if you hire. So when you have a culture that rewards the individual, is my voice, am I part of this process? Do I feel about a part of something larger than just myself? We think that's really essential. It's that kind of a culture and finds those great people. That again is the key to success. So it is a differentiating criteria. In that, if you and I go build a property today and we've done all the best things we can, the accommodations, the best everything, but the representative on the staff level is not carrying that same enthusiasm and creates a bad experience for the guests coming in there, you've just undone everything. So that's why it is so critical, so essential as part of this whole trends emerging in the industry, this on hospitality, people first, experience forward.
Excellent, excellent. So now a lot of these are kind of going to remote locations, and they present challenges in terms of logistics, food and beverage, et cetera. How does a company help and coach owners of property that are trying to do something in more of a remote location?
More and more, these locations aren't only desirable, they're kind of necessary. In order to create a unique nature-centric environment that we seek. The guest is going to be seeking remoteness. And the truth is, these remote locations, in and of themselves, are valuable because they are immersed in nature, and they become very desirable because somebody doesn't necessarily want in the heart of the city. Obviously, they want to get away. So if they can do that 2 or 3 hour drive and be immersed in nature, hospitality is moving to areas outside of the traditional perimeter. So whereas in the past, RV, form of outdoor hospitality. We have to be within X amount of driving range. Those ranges are extending dramatically farther for a great experience, immersed in nature, great food and beverage options. And what we found is that in these remote locations, you can create a very robust outdoor hospitality, experiential hospitality product. Food and beverage is a major component of that. John Griffiths, our friend at Outbound Kitchens, does an amazing job of kind of wrapping the food and beverage into these outdoor hospitality apps. So when you have an experience and the great guest experience at the property, it's really easy. Locations actually do pencil very well.
And would you say that there's also a size, small boutique versus large? Is that also part of being remote?
It's my favorite answer, although it's it's not the most illuminating. Possibly is it depends. So where location, what are the natural attributes? What kind of rate can you get from that property? That can get a very high ADR that will outperform a larger ADR. So it's really more a function of what does the location offer, what is the experience and the amenities we can bring to the locations, and that's what determines the ultimate success. So there really isn't a benchmark for size. There's no magic criteria of you have to be at 10 sites to make it work. There are examples of properties with under 10 sites that have incredibly high and eventually profitable. So there really isn't a defining answer criteria, under this site count, you can't do it, or you have to be this size. It's strictly situational and completely dependent upon the product offering.
Okay, so there's not a typical project size.
There really is not, just for those very reasons. A small property can be a superior performer. It really boils down to the math, right? I mean, that's part of what we do as well. So here's the location, here's the vision. What does it take to get? What do the rates look like? The occupancy. And at the end of the day, anybody's capital that pays attention produces capital returns. Size component to it. It's hard to say that 2 units could make you wealthy. That is for certain. Mm-hmm. But again, there's very successful in the industry.
Okay, great. So let's just say there's someone on the phone here that is passionate about creating a hospitality property, but may not know where to start. What advice would you offer to help them take the first step?
Basically, it's going to sound trite, but it's give us a call. And again, I think it's good to understand that the basis of Expitality and why Michelle and I formed it was we wanted to be the kind of company I tried to find many years ago when I was first starting in the industry. So many great people over so many years in the industry. We've kind of aligned with some of the best minds, best companies in the country. So what does that mean in real terms? Somebody's thinking, gosh, I'd like to build a glamping resort or some hotel asset. Where do I start? We would recommend just give a call. And the reason for that is because if the needs of the something that's outside of our scope, we are very happy and very proud to refer them to other people who may be better suited to them. So when you have the benefit of having been in the industry for almost 30 years, and with Michelle experience in the industry on top of establishing network, we're a success-oriented company, solutions-oriented, and so just by calling us, even if we can't help you ourselves, we'll gladly get you to some.
And how do you identify the right individuals and companies then to work with?
For us, it comes down to, well, the experience in the industry is a huge part of it. It's primarily the care they have with their company, the level of care they have for their clients, the commitment to excellence. Because let's be honest, there are some companies that do a good service, but it's more of turning of clients and let's cash the check to the next thing. Towards people in the industry that have what we do, they legitimately care about their customers above and beyond that those people are very well cared for. So we believe, Michelle and I both believe, aligned ourselves with, exhibit the same kind of care and discipline that we ourselves do in our daily routine. These are people that want to do right and want to do good. It's kind of the golden rule, though it sounds a little bit corny and old-fashioned, perhaps. Treat people right. It's as simple as that. I think that's the key to success in any business, and those are the people with whom we're very convinced that it's based on, number one, experience. We've worked with them. Number two, the appropriate business discipline and mentality that is service-oriented. Very critical. And let's face it, if we make a bad recommendation, that reflects back on us. So we have to be very cautious about those. Don't throw hazard. We're very disciplined about who we align with.
Great, Randy. And so when we met, you and I and Michelle, there was kind of an instant click there because we're going kind of above and beyond in the quality of what we're building. We're doing some really differentiating things with the robotic furniture that MIT developed in the 2015, 2019 time. And we've done this floor to ceiling glass to really accentuate the outdoors around you. We've really been trying to do extraordinary things inside the box that we call ZenniHome. Tell us, why don't you go ahead and take the floor here and ask me some questions, but why we've got together and why we're doing this webinar and we're talking about more expanded business relationships.
Well, absolutely. You know, but Michelle and I, again, because we're looking for what's different, you know.
I can't hear you. Can you hear us, Randy?
I'm seeing a little notification that he's got some internet issues again.
Yeah. And John, we have just watching the chat, and David and Alnor and others that are making comments. Darren, I could maybe start taking some questions while we wait for Randy to get his internet working better. What is your lead time from initial order to installation on my property in Oceanside, California? I've actually been talking to a couple of people in Oceanside, and it's kind of a cool new place to do things. And depending on the backlog of orders in our factory, and depending on how many units you have, let me just give you a quick sense. We're starting this week on the units that will go into Mesa. There will be 90 homes, 30 one-bedroom and 60 two-bedroom, and we'll have those done and finished and delivered in December. We hope to get a little quicker than that over time. So it depends on what's in the queue at the factory and how many units you need that will dictate how long it will take. Once we get to the site, let's just say it's Oceanside, California. It's an easy one-day truck ride from our factory in Page, Arizona. There's work that needs to be done before we get there with the units. So that would have to be coordinated with you so that any footers, foundation members are there and cured. We'll need to have a crane there to take the units off the truck and onto your piers, onto your foundations. And then we need a couple of days per unit to do the mate line finish work, connect to utilities. So just kind of multiply that by how many units you have, and that's kind of an idea of how much time we'll be on site doing the installation and getting it ready for folks to move into. So there's another question here from Alnor. Do you meet Canadian construction standards and regulations? We are currently working to get authorized to be in Canada. We are currently installed, inspected, and licensed in Arizona. We're currently in process. We're actually also doing projects in Utah. So it's a matter of getting licensed in your states and in Canada. We've looked at all those requirements. We're International Building Code, International Residential Code. So we believe it's not going to be any issues to get licensed in Canada, and we fully intend to do that. So let's see. Sorry about the technical difficulties we're having here to get Randy back. Randy, can you hear us? Great. Really appreciate people joining. I'll just go ahead and talk a little bit more about some questions we were going to have Randy bring up for the audience. We talked about the build and installation process and timeline. What's our process compared to traditional or typical construction? I'll just give you an idea. We did groundbreaking in our project in downtown Mesa at Mesa, Main and Center, and they just started doing construction on the civil work that's there, and we started building the units in the factory. We'll actually finish when the concrete is cured on the podium in Mesa. We'll actually be able to deliver our units that are completely finished on the inside. So think of all the trades that are typically inside units doing tile work and sheetrock work, etc. That's all done parallel with doing the concrete work. So we should be able to save 50% of schedule because we're doing work parallel with the civil work that's getting done. That's the real benefit of modular. You can be building in the factory at the same time they're moving dirt and pouring concrete, putting rebar into foundation elements. Another question is, how can ZenniHome units support building a project in a remote location? We just came up with a really cool idea. We call it Planet Wise. WISE stands for water, internet, sewer, and electricity or power. And we will definitely sell products that have all of that self-contained in the unit so that you're completely off grid. And you could literally put our units with a helicopter, whatever, on top of a remote peak. And as long as you can get there yourself, you would be able to live very normally. I have personally had property since 1996 that's 8 miles from any utilities, and we have lived very comfortably up to 50 people at our ranch in Arizona. And we've got solar voltaic and batteries, inverters. We have a Starlink system from Elon Musk for broadband internet connection. We have a septic system, or there's other things, a small package system that would handle the sewer. We even have a system out of Germany that can get 98% reuse of the water that goes into the sewer system. And then we also have water coming from a well, but this can also come from atmospheric water harvesting and other unique new things. So we believe you can be planet wise, completely off grid, if that's in fact what you want to do. Question from Kevin: do you have any glamping locations planned? We do. In fact, I just got approval today from a project down in southern Arizona. They have a beautiful vineyard next, very close to the Mexican border at about 4,000 or 5,000 feet. It's a gorgeous vineyard. They just put a beautiful lodge product together with restaurant, and we were just selected by them to be the cabanas, the housing. I think we're talking 20 units at this point, and it will be. They wanted something that would feel indoor, outdoor. Our big decks are floor to ceiling glass, but yet everything on the inside is air conditioned, heated, all the amenities that you would expect, and the cool robotic stuff that gives you that not only unique setting, but this this very cool differentiating space that you'll be staying in. Another question here. This gentleman has, Kevin has an iconic 128-acre property with 2 miles of riverfront in the Canadian Rocky Mountains. We want to be there. Lead time for 40 zennies. We'll get those to you in 2024. So let's work together, Kevin, and see if we can make that happen. And we'll hit the weather when the weather's gone, and get those units there in Canada. Be gorgeous. One of my favorite family vacations is going from from Calgary up through Banff area and making that big loop. It's just gorgeous, unique country. Another question: have we built buildings yet? Alnor has asked. We have 2 models in Mesa, Arizona that you can come and tour anytime. They are exactly what they would look like for you for your units. And we also have 12 units we're shipping right now that are finished in our factory. And then we're starting the 90 units for the multifamily, 5 stories over podium that will be delivered by December. Yes, we're very much with over 100 factory workers busy building modules. So we're very excited. Heather just asked, are you able to deliver to the Northeast, or are you only able to work in the states that you're licensed in? We do need to work on the states where you are to make sure we get licensure there. One of the cool things we can do, if you're really in a hurry until we get factories, we're going to have one in the Northwest, one in the Midwest, and one in probably the Atlanta area that would cover the East Coast and including the Northeast. But until those factories are in place, our units ship on trains. You can typically move a container from East Coast to West Coast for $7,500. So we can ship these on a train that would be cheaper than truck. Happy to talk to you about that. John said, interesting. We have a project on the Tennessee River with almost 2 miles of riverfront in the process of developing it now. John, let's talk about that one too. Be great. Absolutely, everybody's welcome to come and see us in Arizona to see the models and come and see the factory in Page, Arizona. If you don't know anything about Page, Arizona, it's on Lake Powell. We can see Lake Powell from our factory, and some of the most beautiful, pristine national park areas in the world are all around us. It's a favorite place for people. We get about 4 million visitors a year to Page, Arizona, to come and look at Antelope Canyon, Horseshoe Bend in the Grand Canyon. Go check out the north and south rim of the Grand Canyon, Zion National Park, Bryce National Park, Canyonlands National Park, Arches National Park, Moab, you name it, you're within. You can go do the Petrified Forest as well in that same area, Monument Valley on the Navajo Nation. It's a fantastic place to come and visit. Yeah, I was yesterday in Page at the factory with people that came off the houseboat on Lake Powell, and we had 12 people, very wealthy people that were there, wanted to come and see the factory. We will do that for you as well. We have Maria there at the factory. We'll give you a tour. Absolutely. Thank you very much for that request. We do 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom citizens, but I'm going to share my screen and show you some really cool thing that we can do. So let me see if I can share my screen real quick and show you some ideas. If you can see my screen, hopefully. As people that know us, we have 2 models, kind of like the Tesla Model Y. Here's the smaller unit that's 320 square feet, 1 bedroom, kind of a studio deal. Then we have a 2 bedroom unit that's twice the size, 640 square feet. And with those 2, we've been perfecting those for the last 3 years to be used individually, but they stack. They have all the steel in the walls necessary to stack. This particular building is 75 feet tall at the ground floor of the top unit. It's 5 stories on top of a podium. This is our first project we're building right now in downtown Mesa on Center and Main. We call it Zen City because we put all of our units together to create a little city in a multi-unit project. But we can do a triplex. There's a 1-bedroom down here and 2 bedrooms above that. Here's a kind of fun little video we did to show you what you can do with our 2 units. The small, one's twice the size of the other. One's 1 bedroom, one's 2 bedroom. You can put the small bedroom up above the large bedroom, the large unit below, or vice versa, and actually create a garage in the process. We can turn them on a 90-degree basis. There's a triplex now, a fourplex. All the brown areas are the chases that bring utilities to the ground so that we can connect them there. So there's all kinds of things we can do with the boxes that look very, very cool. And now let me take you to a new idea to not stack them, but actually use multiple units to create a larger home. This particular scenario would get you to 5 bedrooms and 3 baths, all on 1 floor. So it's a beautiful looking modern facility. But if you really tear it apart, it's just 3 of our modules. There's module 1, 2 bedrooms. There's module 2, 1 bedroom. You put a beautiful 400, 500 square foot common area. And there's the 3rd unit, 2 bedrooms. There's a 5 bedroom, 3 bath with a huge gathering area that can be enclosed or left open if you wanted to keep that going. So we can do almost any size home, and we can do up to 5 stories over podium, which gives you tremendous flexibility. Okay, I will stop saving and come back to the group. Are there any other questions for us? Randy, did you make it back with us? Great. Let's see, we've been attracted by Randy's firm because we do think we could be that differentiating, really unique new product that sets in a unique setting of nature beautifully. And we don't require a whole foundation or a whole slab under us. We can do that with podiums. We can even do it with helical piers to have minimal disturbance of the soil. We can be off-grid completely with our WISE product, solving for water, internet, sewer, and electricity out of the factory. So with that, I think that's all the time we have. David or Kenna, do you have anything to add here at the end?
I was just going to add that we do want to make everybody aware that we are still actively fundraising. And so I'm just going to drop a link here in the chat. Oh, it looks like those URLs did not unfurl. Let me try that one more time. So the first one is for crowdfunding for smaller sized investments. You can go to the WeFunder link, and then for larger amounts, you can visit this other link on our website. And then lastly, Randy's a wonderful expert in the area of experiential hospitality. And so I'm going to drop a link to their website, Expitality. And so if you have your own projects you're considering, he would be a wonderful, wonderful person and company to work with there.
Great. Thanks, David. Really appreciate everyone joining us today, and we're sorry about the technical difficulties. We'll try to sort those things out better in the future. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.